Well, welcome back everybody. We've got a bit of an exciting one today. This, in this rather grotty looking enclosure, is our Singapore blue, the Lapropalma violaceopes. Now this is a large Asian arboreal spider, and we paired this one some time ago, and she's actually dropped an egg sac. So what we're going to do now is we're going to show you the footage of that pairing, because it's quite an interesting pairing, but it's quite short. So without further ado, we'll pop over, have a little look at that, see what you think. I'll see you in a moment. So here we are now. This is the female's enclosure, and we are just entering the male. He's kept separately up until this point. As you can see there, these spiders are sexually dimorphic, which means they're basically the same up until the male's final molt. When he molts into a mature male, he changes his colour appearance entirely. He also looks different to her as well in other aspects, including he is much lighter than her in weight, and he's also much leggier. These are a very leggy species of spider anyway, but you'll see he has very, very long legs. And he's quite finely built in comparison. You'll also see there, it's very important when introducing your males that you get them in there with the least amount of stress possible. We want him to go in feeling fairly happy. He's got quite the job ahead of him. Now you'll see there's little bits of web hanging down all over the place. These will all have indications on them as to who they belong to, namely our female. Now, as you can see there, he's trying to squeeze into that gap there. Now she's behind there somewhere. And he's just having a little rest, having a little think. Here we go. You can just see the tips of her toes. And this is why he's backing out. He's just met the love of his life. Here we go. Now he's all excited. He's like, hey up, I like the look of you. Still can't see no response from her. You just see a toe moving there in the background. She's still there. Now this bouncing up and down, this is him sending the signals of his intentions. He's making it very, very clear that he's very, very interested. There you go, you can just see the tips of her toes in the background there. She's moving very slowly and subtly, and I would imagine she's probably tapping away as well. Now these introductions can go on for some time. Now some spiders are very, very quick. Other spiders like to take their time about it. It's all about getting the right responses. This is, after all, a very, very tricky time of life. You can see there he's trying to squeeze in. You can see he's reaching out with his front legs and he's trying to make contact. Now ideally we don't really want him to go down in there because that is a bit of a tight spot. Here we go. You see how the behaviour of his movements is quite different to some of the other spiders that we've shown. He goes in for the more full-on body shake, and it's quite robust shaking. You see there is his pedipalps there. You see the emboli on the ends very, very clearly. And as we were saying earlier about being a dimorphic spider, sexually dimorphic, these guys show up really, really easily. You know when you've got a male. Now sometimes past there, I think there was around about an hour past there where he didn't actually do a lot at all. And now he's just moving over. And he's making his way to the top of the bark. See what a handsome spider he is. Very leggy, see them legs? Beautiful mossy green colour to him. Absolutely gorgeous, these males. Now you can see there is web everywhere. There's a thin layer of web all over the glass as well. I would imagine to a spider it probably stinks up there. She would have laid down her pheromones all over the place. Here he goes, here he goes. Now maybe he's actually... Oh, here she comes. She's here. Ooh. She came out of there a little quick. You notice he's not given up. He's full on. And you can see the difference now. When we were saying about this dimorphism, you notice he's a mossy green. She's like a steely blue. Almost black. And look at the size of her. Now we've turned the volume up in this clip, so you can hear that thumping. This is one very well conditioned lady. And she is making her intentions very, very clear. At this point in time, she has got nothing but breeding on her mind, the same as him. So we might be in luck. These guys can be rather harsh on the males. Females have been known to just literally kill a male straight away. I think this is down to some of the conditioning. You see there that she has a nice full abdomen. Another interesting note here. We often hear about people complaining about mesh roofs. You'll see that all of my enclosures have mesh roofs, and you can see here how this male is navigating around the roof without any problem whatsoever. You notice he's not getting caught up in it. You see, look at the length of those front legs. They are going to be very, very useful in a moment. He's a little bit jumpy with her. Now what we've done here is we've had to close the door a little bit because he's coming to the front of the enclosure. We don't want him coming out. We need to keep the tempo where it is. They're both very excited. And this is what we're trying to maintain. So we don't want him coming out of the enclosure. Here we go, he's back in again. Now when you do things like that, you have to be very, very careful not to knock the tank, make any sudden vibrations, because this will upset her and she will disappear. Here we go, you see how he called her over then? Now this is not an ideal situation because we've got one up one way and one up the other way. Not the best way of mating for a spider. But as is often happens, the males like to be on slightly higher ground. And you don't want to give up that advantage. I don't blame him, she's quite an awe-inspiring spider. She is phenomenal. Now you see with all this leg flapping and everything, we've got contact now. You see they're touching each other now. She is very responsive. Now look at that. She can't get him to come to her, so she's going to go to him. Now they're both on the mesh. And you notice how they're navigating their way around quite easily, even with her extra weight. Now you see we've got constant contact now. They're touching each other all the time. And the important thing is now is that he can actually escape should he need to. Look at those front legs of his, very, very long. You see how they're stretched out? he's slowly moving them towards her. You notice he's kept his pedipalps out of the way. You don't want them getting bitten off. You notice she's also doing most of the leg flapping at the moment. He's pretty relaxed. He's moving her towards him. He's a clever spider. Now normally, the male would push the female up to go for insertion, but these guys are hanging upside down. These are obviously quite flash spiders. Now look at this. He's moving his front legs towards her carapace. So he's getting in between her front palps. Now look at this. Look at that. Look. He's actually holding her by her carapace with his front legs. See how they're stretched really strongly? They're dead flat. Now he's moving in. Look. See his pedipalps? They're just going very, very slowly. He's actually holding her weight. She's dangling now. She is allowing him to hold her weight. Look at him stretching out his pedipalp. He's just stretching. Whoa! And that was it, guys. That was insemination. And you can see how that completely shook her up. That put her all in a little bit of a fizzle. And there you go. Look, she's had enough. See how her temperament has changed? That's it. It was all very nice, and thank you very much, sir, she says. I'm off back to bed. And there she goes. Isn't that incredible? Super, super fast.
Well then, what did you think to that? He didn't hang around, did he? And I don't blame him either, because she's a bit of a monster, this girl. She's huge. Now then, we are going to try now and take the egg sac away from her. Now she's had this, she dropped this egg sac on the 18th of the 5th. It is now the 19th of the 6th. So she's had it sort of 30 odd days. So what we're going to do, we are hoping that it's viable. We've not touched this girl from the day she dropped this egg sac. We've not interfered with her at all. I've not checked for the egg sac or done anything. And this is something that's quite interesting actually. I often get asked, how often do you check your egg sacs and things like this? And the truth is, if I can't see it by looking just into the front of the enclosure, then I don't worry about it. Once I know I've got an egg sac, I take the date that I found the egg sac, and that's what I write on the enclosure there. And that, as far as I'm concerned, is the date of laying. So I will work my 30 days out, or 35 days, depending on what species we're doing. I will work out my days from the day I find it. Now what this does is this ensures that even should she have laid this a week previous or anything like that, then it doesn't matter, because they will be more developed than what we think they might be. So we run the risk of maybe hatching in the enclosure, but that is better in my mind than pulling an egg sac too early. So if I find the egg sac today and sit and think, well, that could have been laid 2 weeks ago, I'll take my dates back 2 weeks. I could end up pulling it still at egg stage, which I don't want. We don't want the work. So we want to try and pull them later. Another little tip there with the breeding is, once I've got a female and I'm sure she's stopped feeding, she's now encased herself, cocooned herself in behind her bark or whatever, then I check every weekend. So worst case scenario, I will be 1 week out, which isn't much really in the grand scheme of spider things. So here we are, we're a month on. I can't wait to get her out of this enclosure because it is such an eyesore. It niggles my OCD-ness. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pop in, and if you'd like to come over here, and we can have a look. This is the first time that we've seen her in a month. So we're going to, you can see how she's webbed all the top up. This is to make sure predators and what have you can't get in there. So all we're going to do is we're going to pull back the bark nice and gently. See, there's a roach there that's escaped. This would have been one of the last meals she had. Now we do have to be careful and watch our fingers. These are an old world species, and they do have a rather nasty and powerful bite. So we do have to watch our fingers. And all we're doing now is we're just going to try and clear some of the web away. Oh, look at that. Isn't that just an absolutely special sight? Oh wow, that does look really nice. We're going to take this back here. We don't want to upset her. Oh, that's a monstrous egg sac. There we go, just let go. Look at that, is she not a special looking spider? It's unusual that we can manage to clear everything out. So what we're going to do now, we're going to get our catch cup ready. Because it doesn't look like she's willing to give this up too soon. So this could be a little bit of fun. We're going to bring our catch cup in. And we're going to try and take this from her. Excuse my fingers for a moment. And there we have her. She went in rather nicely there. We'll bring her out. And here we have, that actually weighs a ton. That is really, really heavy. Isn't that incredible? Look at the size of that. That is huge. Well, shall we have a look, see what we got? Let's put that there. We're going to get rid of our tank. Now we're going to rehouse this girl in a moment, but we'll save that for another video. You can see her there. She look nice. You might even be able to take a look at the top of her. She's quite calm actually for a... There we go. Isn't she absolutely stunning? Beautiful, beautiful spider. Right. Go over here. Now then, let's see what we've got. Here we go. So we're going to open this up. Ooh, wow. This might still have been a little early. Look at this. Now this is a bit of a mixed bag. These guys look like they're actually drying out a little bit. There is still life there. You can see them moving. And these are actually just in the process of molting out. You can see where they've just literally turning to eggs with legs, or yules. So that's quite an interesting scenario there. Because what we've got here these pieces here, these are like the hard casings that surround the actual egg. So as it develops, as you can see with this one here, as it develops, you'll see the little spiderling there. It goes from an egg, he is wrapped around that, he grips that, as you can see maybe with this one. You can see how he's gripped the egg. This one here as well. This one hasn't actually let go yet. So you can move that. You can see just there. So what happens is this is, to all intents and purposes, the very first slough of your spiderling. This is the casing that goes around the egg and seals them in. And once this casing has come off, they end up looking like this one. And this is where they start needing to be hydrated now. And as we can see, it looks like in this case, most of these actually look like they're viable. We've caught them just at the point of where they're turning to yules. It's quite an interesting thing here. And at this stage, where they're so young, you won't see a huge amount of movement with them. They hardly move really at all. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get these little guys and we're going to count them all up. That's actually a really big sack and a really healthy looking sack, to be fair. I think what we're going to do, we are going to separate these now. We'll count them all and we'll move them over, clean them up, and we'll move them over into our nursery pot that we've got ready here. This pot was made up yesterday, so that's been sat in here for 24 hours. So our water here is at the same temperature as our room, and this will give them the perfect environment for these guys to actually proceed with their development. So then, give us just a few minutes. Camera lady's going to do her favourite job. She's going to count all of these little tiny yules, and we'll find out exactly how many we got, clean them up, and we'll have a look at them in the pot. I'll see you in a moment.
So what we're doing now is camera lady is going to clean up these little yules, and you'll see as you look into that egg sac there, it's full of the actual sloughs that surround the egg, which we spoke about a moment ago. And this is primarily the very, very first slough of the egg. And as you can see, we can literally just peel them off. Now this takes a little bit of a gentle hand, but the spiderlings are actually surprisingly robust and they can deal with this quite well. Now what we're doing here now by taking this slough off, this isn't totally necessary. We could have just poured them all into the nursery pot and left them to get on with it themselves, but then we would end up having to clean the nursery pot out as well. So we might as well, we found over in the past that it's just as easy when we get them at this stage to just clean them up now. We've got to count them anyway, so we can clean them up and do it as we go. And this means that we can end up with a nice clean nursery pot. Our spiders are actually free, so there's no chance of any of them getting stuck anywhere. And it's just an ideal situation to be in. But as you can see there, that actual egg casing comes off very, very easily. They're at the point where they're actually sloughing anyway. You see there, it literally just peels off. Now obviously this does take a little bit of time, and I think to do this whole egg sac, I should imagine we probably spent about 20 minutes, half an hour maybe, cleaning these little guys over. You see that one is still totally wrapped around his egg. Now obviously when they're in the enclosed egg sac, this outer skin comes off fairly easy because there is friction amongst them. The female will move the egg sac around. She rotates it and moves it so that the ones on the bottom end up on the top, and so forth. But because they're all in there together, they're a mass in a tight space, and they start moving around, the friction is what cleans them up, gets this shell casing off of them. And again, when they slough out as well, it's exactly the same process. Now obviously once we take them out and move them into the nursery pot, they don't get that same friction. So we found it beneficial just to clean them up ourselves. And as we've shown here, it's a very, very easy job. As long as you've got a steady hand and you're nice and gentle, you won't cause any problems. Definitely something you don't see every day. We thought it'd be interesting to show you guys a little bit of sometimes what we have to do. Very, very healthy sack, this one. Very nice.
Well then guys, we are back. Now that didn't take too long at all really, and we have got 144 viable yawls or eggs with legs. Now if you like come over here, what we've done is we have actually cleaned them up, and all these little bits here, as you can see here now, this is the casing that covers the egg, like here, and our little spider would be wrapped around that egg a bit like an alien, and then what happens is this breaks away, and this is the actual casing that goes over the egg. So it's almost, you could almost say it's the very, very first slough from our baby spider, although it's not in a spider form, it's in the case of like the egg. So these are a little bit like the shells that you pull off of pieces of corn, or like shelling peas really. It's literally just like that outer case. Here's the actual egg sac, and we can see here that it's lovely and soft and white on the outside. It's very, very strong. And then on the inside, you've got this discoloration. Now this is to be from when she originally laid the eggs. They would have all been a wet mass. It's just like soup in there. And then as the eggs develop, they then start coming through. And as you can see, this is super, super soft. Can't explain how soft that is. Now out of that 144 viable yawls, we had 5 unfertilised eggs, which are these guys here. And as you can see, there's nothing going on with these. These are completely infertile. Now sometimes these can actually go bad in the egg case, and they can pollute all of the viable offspring that are within this case, because it's sealed in. So there's no way for it to go anywhere. So it literally will send the whole sack bad. And that normally happens not so much with these, as these are infertile, but fertile eggs that die. They will end up completely contaminating a whole egg sac. And this is why sometimes you can open an egg sac up and they'll be absolutely in a real mess. Well, if you look in here, these are our babies. What a wonderful sight that is. Now you'll see here as well, we were saying about them looking like little aliens. You can see where they sort of like, look at this one here. This one is still clinging on to the actual egg sac there. The actual egg, sorry. Which is now its abdomen. And as they get out, they start to crawl out. You can see this one's moving. There's movement there. They don't move a lot at this age, but there is movement. So what we've done now is, by taking all of them cases off, you would have seen in the little bit of video that we put down there, you'll see where camera lady was literally peeling them off. And this is because they were all ready. They were already nice and clean really. So we just took the casings off of those that were a little bit slow. And it means that now, in our nursery pot, it's all nice and clean. So the next time we clean this nursery pot out will be when they molt out into their next stage.
See their little spinnerets.
Yeah. Very, very cool little spiders. So yes, so another success for the beastie room. We're very, very pleased with these. These are absolutely stunning. And to be fair, our female, she's relatively docile most of the time and she's fairly steady. But she did start getting a little nervous. When she was coming up to laying the egg sac, we noticed a difference in her behaviour. And she got a little bit skittish. So I was a little worried that she might stress out and devour the egg sac. But we've been very, very lucky. This is a really cool achievement. Very pleased, very pleased. Right then, we're going to call it a day there for this video, but watch out for the next one because we will now be rehousing our female, setting her up in a nice new home and giving her a little bit of R&R. I think she's in need of it. So don't forget, look out for the next video. And in the meantime, don't forget, be calm, be gentle, and love your spider. I'll see you soon, guys.